In an extraordinary diplomatic moment that has sparked widespread discussion across Africa and beyond, former U.S. President Donald Trump once again found himself at the center of global controversy, this time for his remarks directed at Liberian President Joseph Boakai, whom he praised for speaking such good English, a compliment that appeared to ignore the fact that Liberia is an English-speaking country whose official language has deep historical ties to the United States, as Liberia was founded by freed African-American slaves in 1822 under the American Colonization Society and declared independence in 1847, yet Trump's question, "Where did you learn to speak so beautifully?" directed at President Boakai during a formal meeting with 5 African heads of state, stirred strong emotions among Liberians and many observers across the continent, with critics interpreting the remark not as a genuine compliment, but as a subtle yet condescending reminder of long-standing stereotypes about African nations, especially those with colonial legacies, prompting Liberian youth advocate Archie Tamil Harris to state that he felt personally insulted, emphasizing that many Western leaders, including Trump, still perceive Africans as uneducated villagers, a sentiment that echoed through the statements of other citizens and diplomats who labeled the comment as inappropriate and tone-deaf given Trump's previous controversial rhetoric about African countries, including his 2018 reference to nations on the continent as shithole countries, which drew global condemnation at the time. And although the White House attempted to spin the comment into a moment of praise, with senior Africa advisor Masad Boulos asserting that no other U.S. president has been a stronger friend to Africa than Trump, and Deputy Press Secretary Anna Kelly defending the remark as a heartfelt compliment, many observers remain unconvinced. A South African politician, Veronica Mente, even went so far as to question why Boakai did not simply stand up and leave the room in protest, while a Liberian diplomat, who preferred to remain anonymous, stated that while diplomatic protocol was maintained, the underlying message felt condescending and emblematic of a broader pattern of dismissive attitudes toward African leaders. However, Liberia's foreign minister, Sarah Basilonyanti, offered a diplomatic interpretation, saying the president of Liberia did not take offense, and suggested that Trump may have been responding to the recognizable American intonation within Liberian English, given Liberia's unique history and the American influence embedded in its culture and education, which is rooted in the resettlement of freed slaves from the U.S. who carried their language, values, and governance structure to the West African coast, creating a lasting linguistic and cultural bridge that persists to this day. And while some took Trump's words at face value, interpreting them as an attempt to build rapport, others contextualized them within the president's broader track record, which includes emphasizing English as a cornerstone of national identity, illustrated by his 2015 debate assertion that this is a country where we speak English, and a recent executive order making English the official language of the United States, policies that have frequently stirred debate about cultural inclusivity, global diplomacy, and the responsibilities of world leaders when engaging with diverse international partners. And this incident is not the first time Trump has made language-focused remarks to foreign dignitaries, having previously commented on German Chancellor Friedrich Merz's English during a bilateral press event, praising his fluency and even jokingly comparing it to his own German, which Merz responded to with humor and professionalism. Yet the comment to Boakai stands apart due to its historical, racial, and geopolitical undertones, especially considering the unique position Liberia holds as a nation with deep ties to American history, founded on the ideals of liberty and democracy, and serving as a beacon for the descendants of enslaved people who returned to Africa to build a new republic in the image of the U.S., making Trump's question appear, to many, as either a failure to grasp basic historical context or a deliberate appeal to his base by invoking simplistic narratives about African countries. And despite this, the meeting itself carried significant geopolitical weight, as Trump met with leaders from Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mauritania, and Senegal to discuss economic cooperation, resource development, and regional security, with Trump praising their nations for their valuable land, great minerals, great oil deposits, and wonderful people, remarks that drew praise from the visiting delegations, who used the opportunity to express strong interest in expanding American investments in their country's natural resources, infrastructure, and development projects, positioning themselves as reliable partners in a rapidly changing global landscape where Africa's strategic importance is growing in the eyes of the world's superpowers. And in a striking moment of political theater, President Boakai even echoed Trump's own campaign slogan, stating that Liberia believes in the idea of making America great again, a phrase that resonated deeply with Trump supporters, but raised eyebrows internationally as it seemed to align Liberia with a nationalist U.S. political movement. And while that declaration may have been diplomatic flattery, it underscored the delicate balancing act many African leaders must perform, seeking economic opportunity and foreign investment, while also navigating the reputational risks of aligning too closely with controversial political figures. And despite the optics and rhetoric, the summit highlighted Africa's ongoing efforts to position itself as a central player in 21st century global affairs, leveraging its young population, abundant natural wealth, and strategic alliances to attract foreign partnerships. Yet it also revealed the enduring challenges African leaders face when dealing with Western counterparts who may lack nuanced understanding of the continent's diversity, history, and political maturity. And as global media dissects this episode, the real question remains whether Trump's language was an innocent misstep or a calculated message aimed at reinforcing certain narratives for political gain, and whether such moments ultimately help or hinder America's long-term relationships with the African continent, particularly in an era where other powers like China, Russia, and the EU are aggressively courting African cooperation with large-scale investments and infrastructure deals. And while the Trump administration defended the president's tone and intent, arguing that the meeting was productive and appreciated by all parties present, critics insist that diplomacy is not just about deals and dollars, but also about dignity, mutual respect, and the recognition of shared humanity, especially when engaging with nations that have long histories of marginalization and struggle for self-definition. And as Africa continues to rise in global influence, its leaders and citizens alike are demanding more from international engagement, not just economic investment, but cultural sensitivity, historical awareness, and equal partnership that reflects the realities of a globalized and interdependent world. And in the end, whether Trump's words were a slip of the tongue or a strategic misfire, it serves as a stark reminder of how every word matters in diplomacy, how the legacies of the past continue to echo into the present, and how global leadership in the 21st century will require more than charisma. It will demand understanding, humility, and a willingness to treat every nation with the respect it deserves, not merely for its resources, but for its people, its history, and its rightful place on the world stage.